4 years ago, we decided to reinvent the juicer. We didn't take one of our existing models and update it. Instead, we started completely from scratch. And the result is finally here. That's the Sauna 727 Supreme Juicer. And in this video, I'm going to take you along and show you how it came to be, from design to engineering to testing, and finally the completed project. So come along with me and we'll take a look at it. While our goal was to make the most technologically advanced juicer ever, we also wanted to make it look distinctive. You can see the initial concept art that our designers came up with here. Notice how it's really tall, really slim, cylindrical. We liked the look of this, but functionally, it wasn't able to fit all the components inside. So we had the first 3D model printed and sent to us, and you can see that here. You'll notice it's really huge, way too big to actually sell. It would take so much space up on the counter, would be very heavy, but it does show the general shape we were looking for. We refined it further. The engineers were able to scale things down and still fit all the components inside with the second version here. This was the second version before we finally got the final body. Another thing you might want to notice, check this out. This is the feeding tube on the original. It's huge. I've never seen a feeding tube this big, but we found it had a very shallow angle, and when you'd feed things in there, they would just sit. They wouldn't fall in. So we redesigned it to something more compact, deeper, more of a bowl shape. We found this was far more functional. But beauty's only skin deep. What's important is what's inside the juicer. And the first thing we had to work on was the motor. This is the motor in our new Sauna 727, and it's the most advanced motor we've ever designed. Now the challenge was how to create a motor to fit in here that still allows it to use a horizontal juicing operation. What our engineers did, they took an advanced motor here and they created this special gearing. This allows the auger to still turn this way while letting the motor fit in the juicer. But probably the most advanced feature of this motor, and something we've never had in any juicer, is that it allows for variable speed juicing. So you can set the speed to match the produce you're juicing. It also has an unlimited operating cycle. You don't have to let it cool down every 10-15 minutes. It can go all day long, no problem. It has low power consumption, about 1/5 that of other motors. It's quiet, it's durable, and it does cost more. It costs us about 3 times more to produce something like this, but for all those features, we think it's worth it. And speaking of features, let's take a look at some other things that make the Sauna 727 different. This is the juicing chamber on the new Sauna 727, and I want to show some of the features that make it different. And first of all, it's how we remove the juicing chamber. It's just a one-touch button. Previously, we used collars to lock things on. Now we have this button, and it actually will just snap into place. No button needed. But that just makes it one step easier to mount, dismount for cleaning and things like that. But let's take a closer look at some of the things in this juicing chamber that make it better. Our goal was to make it easy, but also to get the most juice. And one thing is this cap at the end. This is a completely new system, and what it's got is a rotating stainless steel blade at the end. This is where the pulp is coming out, and what this blade does is give it one last cut, one last squeeze of that pulp just to get a little bit more juice out. Another thing we added or changed was this auger. We looked at a lot of different auger designs. Mainly what we're looking at is the width of these fins here, and also the spacing. What we wanted to do was get the ideal spacing. If it's too small, it won't take big chunks of carrot or celery, things like that. If it's too wide, a lot of the pulp will slip out and go back into the juice. So we tried a few designs and eventually came up with what we think is the ideal design of an auger. Also, the hopper is a completely new design. This is something we took from our vertical juicers. It's similar to our Sauna 828. And what it does, it has dual feeding. That means you can feed standard things like carrots, celery, chopped apples through the regular hole, use the pusher to get it in, and it's also got this deep bowl. This allows you to put small things like berries, cherry tomatoes, things like that, but we've also found it's really useful for leafy greens like baby spinach. You just wad it up, slide it in, and push it down. Finally, this is something new on a horizontal juicer. This is a juice cap. And what this does, it's not something you keep closed when you're juicing. That would just cause juice to back up. It's designed for easy cleaning. When you're done juicing, normally there'll be some juice still dripping out. You're going to the sink to clean it. You leave a little trail of juice or you've got your hand under it. This just lets you shut it. And also when you're cleaning it, this allows you to fill the chamber with water really easily. Now here's the juice screen. What I want to do is pull out some other juice screens and talk about how these are different as well. The Sauna 727 comes with 3 juicing screens. There's a blank screen, coarse screen, and fine screen. The blank screen isn't really a juicing screen, it's a homogenizing screen. What it does is crush whatever you put in there into a smaller consistency, almost like low-speed blending. You would use this for things like sorbets, peanut butters, things like that. The 2 screens here are the juicing screens. We have a coarse screen and a fine screen. Coarse screen has bigger holes, it means less pressure, and it means a little more pulp. You would use that if either you prefer pulpier juice or when you're doing soft fruits like pineapples, berries, things like that. Finally, there's the fine screen. That's what you'd be using most of your juicing for. It has the smallest holes, highest pressure, which gives the highest yield. And one thing I want you to notice is right here. This is called a wing screen. This is where the juice leaves the juicer and goes into the glass. Normally, these have all been made from BPA-free plastic. What we decided to do was make one with stainless steel, same with the coarse screen here. This is because as the last point of contact, we wanted the juice to remain as high quality, hygienic as possible, and that's what we did. But we had to do a little adjustment to get it to work just right. When we got the first prototype of the juicing screens, we found that there was too much pulp in the juice. We weren't satisfied with the output. So our engineers redesigned it, tried a bunch of different sizes, shapes, and we tested it quite a bit to get the ideal balance of juice flow and pulp. And we came up finally with this design here, and we found that it minimizes the pulp, and there's also a strainer that goes on the glass if you want less pulp, while still getting a high-speed juice flow and good yield. Things were almost ready. Just a few details to work out, including the containers. Now here at Sauna, we pride ourselves at including premium containers with our juicers, not just the typical small plastic ones, but we kind of went the extra mile this time with the containers for the 727. Starting with this. This is the juicing glass, only it's not your typical glass. This is handmade crystal, Bohemian crystal. We traveled to the mountains of the Czech Republic to a factory, one of the last remaining, that makes handmade crystal. They designed this for us. It's designed to fit under perfectly, has a 500 milliliter capacity. Also includes this stainless steel sieve that fits in perfectly for those that want to get the absolute clearest juice. We also had this stainless steel pulp container, custom designed to match the look of the juicer. It has a huge capacity, and why we have this in stainless steel is because some people like to save the pulp. They like to use it for biscuits, soups, things like that. So we filmed some behind the scenes of these being made. Let's take a look at those now. Things were almost ready for production. We just had to make a few last-minute adjustments in our testing. For example, we found that the pusher wasn't quite long enough and we weren't able to get things like chunks of carrots in perfectly well. So we had it extended slightly longer. We tested about 5 different lengths to find out which one was ideal. Remember that juicing cap there? The almost final design didn't quite close properly, and some juice was able to actually jump across when it was open, jump across a little gap, so we had to redesign it. This was the old prototype, just to make sure it worked perfectly. We also came up with this. This is just a dust cover. This fits on perfectly, so when the juicer's not in use, it stays clean. After all that, things were ready, and in early 2020, the factory started production. Let's take a look behind the scenes. You can see the first Sauna 727s coming off the line. All that was left was to come up with a name for our juicer. Now here at Sauna, we use numbers to identify our juicers, but because this has been a special project for us, we decided to give it a name as well. And we call it the Sauna 727 Supreme Juicer. We hope you enjoyed watching this video, showing the story of how the Sauna Supreme came to be. It's been a dream project for us, and we're excited to see it finally become reality.